travel. I would love travel, even though I hadn't traveled then. But I was like, okay, where can I go to in Nigeria? Okay, I've done Lagos. Let me do Nigeria. And then I started to go to like different states in Nigeria. Did Abuja to Kaduna. Did the train. And then from there, just started doing more of those kind of videos. And then travel became part of my niche.
That's where I get all my energy from. From the stage to the studio and to my desk. I am the energy god. And you can be one too.
You're listening to Adeshokbe Live, the Afrobeats podcast.
Yo, also guys, it's Tayo Aina, and you're watching the Afrobeats podcast, and the Jackpot series is coming out now.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to a brand new edition of Adeshokbe Live, the official Afrobeats podcast here in the Afro Media Studios, where we break down the hottest topics in the culture. And I'm joined one-on-one by a special guest. Just chop it up with me. As always, please keep the subscriptions going on. Click now, subscribe if you haven't already. The bigger we get, the better we're in position to promote our own people, our own culture, without waiting for others to do so. So make sure you subscribe now. Anyways, this was brought to you by the Energy God Energy Drink. Drink and be yourself. Stay energized. This is for us, by us. So go to energygod.com and pick up a pack, a can, whatever it is. Support the culture. Also, this brought to you by Iconic Distro. Go to iconicdistro.com if you want any information about music distribution, content distribution, global content marketing, global tech content marketing, anything to do with music and content distribution. Go to iconicdistro.com and be iconic. Now, I'm joined in the studio by a superstar that needs no introduction. He's splashed all over social media, especially YouTube. Some people know him as a travel expert, a YouTuber, a content creator. I just know him as a guy just enjoying his life and going to some of the most amazing cities in the world. Please give it up for Tayo Aina.
That was a mad intro.
So, which one would you prefer? A content creator, a YouTuber? What's the best introduction for you that makes you feel like, yeah, you know what I'm doing? Yeah. This is me.
I think for me, I see myself more as a storyteller. I tell stories. I think that covers like kind of like everything I do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But how did that become a job? Where did the storytelling ability come in?
So if you asked me this question like maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, I would probably never imagine that I would be doing what I'm doing now, because I was never like used to like being in front of like the camera.
Yep.
I was never in any like photography or any school or whatever like that. So I used to be an Uber driver in Lagos.
Wow. Say that again, please.
I used to be an Uber driver in Lagos. So I went to uni.
Yeah.
I studied real estate, but when I graduated, I was looking for something to do, and I was like, okay, I need to make some money. So I decided to join Uber, because Uber just came to Nigeria then.
Yeah.
And then I started driving, taking people, dropping people off. I did that for like 8 months in Nigeria. And then it was while I was doing that I started to notice that, I was taking people to places that I'd never been to before. Because before then, I didn't used to go out. Like, I didn't know places in Lagos, like VI, all the nice cool spots.
And you were born and raised in Lagos?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Lagos. But, like, the kind of family I come from, it's not like a family where it's like, there wasn't enough like money to be doing stuff like that, like going out. We don't go out that much like that. And that was when I started doing Uber. I started to use Uber. So Uber made me know about Lagos. Like, there are some places I know in Lagos now that's like, because when you're an Uber driver, you're picking like at least 15 people every day, taking them from one end of Lagos to another end of Lagos. So it makes you learn about Lagos faster. So from Festac, there's this place that is like further down. I think after what's the name of this place? They sell CDs. Alaba. Yeah, all those places. Going from the length and breadth, going through the length and breadth of Lagos. So it was during that period I was like, there's a lot of all these places that I'm seeing, but if I'm searching for them, I can't find them online. And then I started to watch YouTube. And then from there, that passion developed, and I started to watch YouTube. I started to learn how to film with the camera, audio, all of that, watching a lot of like all these creators in the US. And I was like, how come? Like, there's nobody who is doing this thing for Lagos. Like, what if I could do what these guys are doing for Lagos? And then I started to just learn how to make videos, then went into the filmmaking space. started to this was so eventually so I stopped Uber because
Yes.
Uber started to become like very stressful for me because I usually drive. There are days where I drive like 20 hours
God.
in a day, and then I sleep for like 4 hours. So on average, I was like, it was very, very stressful, and the money wasn't even like anything because I didn't have a car. So
So you
I was a
had to-
driver with a partner. So the partner takes like 60%, Uber takes 20%, I take 20%, which was back then. I think I used to make like 100, maybe like 80 to 100K if I'm lucky in a month after driving. So I looked at it. I was like, "Okay, there's no future in this. There's no award for best Uber driver. They don't give out awards for that." So I was like, "Okay, let me look for something else to do." And then I started to document, take pictures with my phone of places in Lagos, all the buildings, in Lagos, all the UBO buildings, Marina. I just used to document. Then from there, went into videos, started making videos for people, and then fell into YouTube. I was like, okay. I learned from all these guys that were in the US. I watched their videos. I was like, this is how to make videos. And then I was like, okay, now that I've learned a little bit of how to make videos, I started to film for people, weddings, did all of that. That's how I started to earn money since I wasn't doing Uber anymore.
Yeah.
And then it got to a point, 2019, August. That was when I actually said, okay, let me take this YouTube thing serious and see how far it can take me. And then I started to focus on YouTube. I started posting videos on YouTube. Here we are today.
Yeah. Talk to me about growing up in Lagos. Since you said you were born and raised in Lagos,
Yeah.
and what part of Lagos did you grow up in?
Ifako.
Ifako.
Agege.
Agege. And what was it like growing up? What type of family setup did you come from?
My parents were both civil servants. My dad worked in the immigration, and my mom was in the army. So yeah, that's kind of family. So my parents, both of them were civil servants. None of them were businessmen. But I have like an elder brother, a younger sister. So we're just like three. But it was like an average family, like a lower like middle income type family. It's not like I was never like struggling to eat or anything. But it's like just the bare minimum. Like go to school, do all of this. There was no holidays. Like my first trip out of Nigeria was 2018. First time I ever traveled to anywhere. So it was that kind of family. But
And what schools? What secondary school, university?
I went to Ifako International Secondary School, which was also in Ifako.
Just right next to
Right next to that. And then I went to Futa, Akure.
Akure?
Yes.
Yeah,
Akure.
this is the second person
really?
in 2 weeks that's gone to Futa. One of the Style Plus was formed in Futa.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Yeah.
I actually studied in Ado Ekiti.
Oh,
and
really?
my brother went to Futa, years ago. So when I hear those names, not that many
Yeah.
from
that time, yeah.
So there's a different connection that we
Yeah,
have. So you
yeah.
studied in Futa.
Yeah, I studied in Futa. I studied real estate in Futa for like, I think it was like a whole 6-year program,
Yeah.
I think. Then after that, I graduated and I was like, okay, let me do something else. Because before I even went into uni, I was this kind of person that you call entrepreneurial. Because from primary 2, I used to sell like sweets to my classmates. So if they give me like 100, I think they give me like 150 naira for a week or something. There, I used to buy this. I don't know if you know this Baba Blue.
Yeah, definitely.
So I used to buy Baba Blue, sell it to my mates. And then when I did that for the first time, I was like, oh, so you can actually use money to make money? Because I used to make like maybe 15 naira extra gain on that.
Wow.
So when that happened at that age, that kind of like unlocked it in my head that, okay, you don't necessarily have to get a job and work for somebody. You can use money to make more money. So since then, I've always been doing businesses and stuff. So even before I graduated from uni, I knew that the traditional part of like getting a job was not for me. Because me, I'm very stubborn. I don't like to listen to anybody.
You had a military parent.
Yeah.
So talk to me about, especially when you finished university, you made an interesting decision to hop on Uber at the time.
Yeah.
What was that decision like for you? And what was it like around the family? Even the fact that you decided to step into that realm.
So I think my family, because of the kind of person I am, I think they kind of like knew that this guy is always up to something. So he would do his own thing. So there wasn't that much like resistance. Because for me, it was like, okay, people want me to go to school. Okay, I've gone to school. Yeah,
here's your
I've taken
certificate.
certificates. I've done that one. So I think since that was already sorted, there was not that much pushback. Because after I finished from school, I just basically left the house and started to just figure out things on my own. I wasn't even sleeping in the house when I was doing Uber. I was just in a friend's house, because I was in a friend's house in Bagada. Because usually the good part is that I used to stay in a place called Obawale. That's where like my parents' house is. It's like inside Ogba, down all those like sides. So it's like far away when you want to start business. So for me, it wasn't making sense for me.
That was more
That was more middle. So
close to mainland,
close to island. So most times, all those people that are going to work in the morning,
morning.
those are the first people you target.
Yeah.
You just get them. Once you cross that back then, once you cross from Bagada, you take people across Third Mainland Bridge to VI. That's like 4,000. That was like 4,000 there most times. A trip from Bagada to, so I was like, okay, early in the morning, you just collect that first 4K.
Those ones first.
First. So that was it. But like I think my parents generally, they were just like, okay, this guy will figure himself out. So there wasn't that much pushback, but I think they were probably just praying for me that, okay, this guy should just figure out
find
his way somehow, Sha. And so shout out to them. They didn't, and I think they also kind of like knew, because I'm this kind of person where it's like I have a mind of my own. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I don't care what you say. So they always knew that I'm just stubborn. So they was like, let's leave this guy.
Now you kind of like trained around handling a camera, started to film weddings but you were doing YouTube a little bit when you were doing...
Yeah, I was doing YouTube a little bit, but I was never like consistent. Maybe I'll post like once in like a month or once in 2 months. Then I was just kind of like figuring it out. Maybe I'll go somewhere, I might just post a video. But it was not... I think then maybe I probably had maybe 3,000, 4,000 subscribers within that 2-year period. Because I actually posted my first video on YouTube in 2017.
Wow.
So for 2 years, I was just posting sporadically. Like, I'll just post randomly, but I was not serious with it. Post tutorials, post this. So there was one time I even posted a video on how to cook asun. Because I was just looking for...
content.
I was just like, okay, let me just explore this thing. Because there was no... Another thing about YouTube then, there was no pathway to follow. Because there was nobody doing what I was doing.
What you were doing.
So there was no pathway to follow. Most places I get my ideas from were like people in the US. I'll be like, okay, this guys did this thing for New York. Okay, maybe I can find a similar video and do something like this for Lagos. Or do something like this for Abuja. So that's where I was getting my ideas from. And then, yeah, that's kind of like how it started.
When did you get the first encouragement from posting on YouTube?
Funny enough, I got my first encouragement when I posted my first video, and it wasn't on YouTube. It was actually on Instagram. So I went to an event in Lagos and did like a small 1-minute video, posted it on Instagram. That's my first ever video, 2017. It was an event in Yaba, and then I posted it, and I got like 10 views and 2 comments, and 2 people were like, oh, this is actually nice. I was like, oh, okay. That was what sparked it. I was like, okay, this thing, I can develop more on this. But if you're talking about like actual, like when I got like a video that probably the video really did well, and then I'm like, okay, this is big, was when I filmed J. Cole came to Nigeria. So I got a chance. Yeah, he came to Nigeria. So I got the chance to get like an access to film at that event. So I basically reached out to the people organizing. I think it was what's the name of their live sport or something.
Yep.
They came, and I reached out, and I was like, okay, I'll film this whole video and I'll edit it and I'll give it to you guys.
Wow.
So that was
shout
my
out
pitch.
To Darius, shout out to Miss D and the whole team. No way.
That was my pitch, and then I got access. I went there, and J. Cole is like, then even up to now, he's my favorite rapper. So it was like crazy when he eventually came out. I was like, so I filmed it. I made sure that I filmed that video, made sure it was the best video of all the videos that everybody was doing. And I actually even got rent a camera and gimbal and everything. And then I made sure I posted the video within like 48 hours of the event. So
how important is speed when you're trying to catch the buzz of an event that you've just attended?
Man, you need to be fast. You need to be fast. You need to be first. You need to be up front and center.
Facts.
Yeah. So all the other people dropped their other videos too, but eventually my video I posted, it got like 1 million views.
Wow.
Yeah.
On
So that was
your
the first
page?
on my page. Yeah.
That's crazy.
On my page, but I didn't make any money from it.
Because of the music.
Yeah, because of the music. It was copyrighted. So, but for me, I was like, oh, really? Like, oh, because I've been posting videos then, they'll get like maybe like 5K. I think my best video then was actually a video I did. I got on a train from Abuja to Kaduna or something, and I got like maybe 20K. That was my most watched video then, before that video came out. And I was like, oh, wow. So it's actually possible for you to post a video and it should get this amount of views. But after J. Cole left, obviously, I went back to post my normal videos because J. Cole is only going to come once in
2 years.
once in how many years
Yeah.
thing. So I was like, okay, let me just look for other things to do. So I basically went back to start posting videos and just kept testing out stuff and just started looking for like different niches. And from there, I started to know that, okay, I looked at my interests. What do I like? Okay. I think right from a young age, my mom always say like, Tayo, you're a very restless person. So I've had this dream of like, oh, I want to explore. I'm always very curious. I want to go to this place, go to that place. So I was like, okay, travel. I would love travel, even though I hadn't traveled then. But I was like, okay, where can I go to in Nigeria? Okay, I've done Lagos. Let me do Nigeria. And then I started to go to like different states in Nigeria. Did Abuja to Kaduna. Did the train. And then from there, just started doing more of those kind of videos. And then travel became part of my niche. And then eventually I also went into the real estate space, started doing videos about like real estate, like in Lagos, like apartments, all of that, Banana Island, featured all of that, Eco Atlantic.
Yeah.
Then those videos also did well. So I just started building it up from there. Basically.
Wow. Now that travel is a huge part of your work and your content, there's also a different element to it where not only are you showcasing your trips and what your experience is, but you're also showcasing culture,
Yeah.
which is a massive, important piece of the media as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Talk to me about your interest in culture and identifying that this could actually resonate with a lot more people than just the visual aspects of your trip.
Yeah, so I think for me, it started when I started to capture like Nigerian culture. So I think one of the first videos I did that I would say like was really about like culture in Nigeria was a video I did about the hyena men of Nigeria. So there are these guys in Kano. They have this thing where they like have like hyenas in their house. They grow up with the hyenas, so the hyenas kind of like get to know them. And it's a whole thing.
Wow.
So that's one of the craziest videos I've ever done. So when I did that, I just started to realize that, okay, like in Nigeria, first of all, there are different
So many
types of cultures, like from the north to the east to the south. Like everybody, there's so many like different parts. And I think highlighting them was very important because also when I started to make those videos that were like targeting like culture, food, all of that, I started to see like people resonating with it. So people be like, oh wow, I never knew this existed. And people that are from Nigeria, it's like, oh, I've never seen Nigeria this way. And back then, Nigeria, even up to now,
now, we haven't
Nigeria
done a good job when it comes to those things.
Yeah, and most times when you talk about Nigeria online, it's like negative stuff.
Negativity.
So I was like, okay, what if I could go the other angle and just like, okay, we know that there's the bad stuff, but it's like there's still good stuff happening that we can capture, and we can capture it beautifully the way like, we see all these other places in the US, and it's like, I was like, okay, let me start capturing these places beautifully. So that's what I started doing. So different states, I've gone across Nigeria. I started to capture that, and I saw people resonating with it, especially even people in the diaspora.
Yes.
They'll be like,
Most
importantly,
yeah.
they'll be like, oh wow, because of your videos now I can have something to show my friends.
Facts.
People that are always like, oh, where do you come from? Oh, Africa is this, Africa is that, Nigeria is this, Nigeria.
Yeah.
Now I can show them like, okay, this is it. This is actually it. It's not like we don't live in huts.
Absolutely. Now that job, what you're doing, of course, is passion, and to some extent is a job, but more importantly is what governments invest millions of dollars on annually to promote the culture, invite people to come and experience it.
Exactly.
Now, when you started going across Nigeria, before you started going into the continent, did anybody in the tourism sector even think about picking up the phone to say, come here?
No, which is very sad. Up to today,
No.
wait now.
I'm listening.
I'm almost at 1 million subscribers, and I've not done anything with like the tourism sector in Nigeria.
My
Nobody has paid me 1 naira to do anything. I've just been doing everything based on like love for the country.
They haven't come to the table to even discuss.
The only times they've reached out, I think sometimes they reach out sometimes, but it's not like
There's no productive. It's not going anywhere.
it's just mostly like
It's
let's
just
have this
clout-based.
meeting. Exactly. That's what it is.
Man, this is one of the problems that a lot of people have, not only, it's particularly for us with Nigeria and Nigerians, is that the right people are not in the right positions.
Yeah.
Imagine someone as passionate as yourself,
Yeah.
part of like a tourism board, and
Yeah.
then spotting someone like yourself
Yeah.
who's already doing the job.
Yeah.
How best or how incredible would it be to come to the table? Like you
Yeah,
say?
and it's amazing when you think about it, because you look at countries like Dubai and all those countries that are like they are
That's
pumping a lot of money into
absolutely.
marketing their country, because every time, if anybody, just for example, let's use London for example, every time somebody who has never been to London decides to come to London, they are at least most likely going to drop at least $5,000
Minimum.
or something into the economy, from
Absolutely.
hotels,
Yep.
food, places they are going,
Shopping,
tickets, shopping,
yeah.
all of that. So there's so much money in the tourism sector, and it's like I don't know, like when it comes to this whole government thing, I'm always just very like this is like money on the table that you can sell this country and make it.
Ghana basically
Ghana-
showed us that within
Yeah.
the last 4 years.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. With the year of return, all of
Absolutely.
that. I was there for that. I was like, wow.
I was there too. And that's what they continue to benefit from till today. Even though some of the citizens might not be happy with how government is being run, but the tourism sector
Yeah.
is banking it consistently.
For sure.
Now let's talk about Africa. I've seen some of your clips. I think one of the ones that stood out to me was with the tribe in Tanzania, where you went to try to catch a baboon and taste a baboon. Or I'm looking at this video like there's so many things going on in that video for me. Not only experiencing how they live and what's going on, but also just thinking that this is their entirety. This is how they will be forever.
Yeah.
What's it like for you being in that moment, not only showing us the different lifestyles, but also being close to these incredible people who have a completely alternative lifestyle and knowing fully well that this is all they know and are prepared to know and are happy to know?
I think it's so many things, because it's like there are so many angles to look at it from. Because for me, it's like seeing people who they don't have any of the things that most people are basically waking up to chase in life, and they are happy, and they're just like there. They just wake up, go and get wood, and they just burn fire, and they're just talking and
hunting.
discussing, go hunting, and then they come back and everybody splits it. Like there's no like, okay, this is for me, this is for. It's like anything anybody catches, they share it amongst themselves. So seeing that, I'm just like, wow, like. Sometimes, what we're actually chasing in life, we already have it. It's just like, we don't need to just be waking up every day to be chasing like material things. Because these are people who, they have none of that. Like every day they go out to earn. So I think that's one of the major things. I think I also saw the power of community in them. It's like everybody looks out for every other person. Like you have, every day there are different groups that go hunting. So there are maybe like 3 different groups. If this group who goes hunting, whatever they bring back, everybody shares it. If this other group goes hunting, everybody shares it. There's nothing like, oh, I was one that shot that arrow, that caught that baboon. No, it's like it's a group thing, because like that's how they live. And it was just so interesting to see that. And there was no like hoarding, like, okay,
Me keeping for myself.
keep for
type of
myself.
thing.
So it was just so interesting, and seeing that. So I think that those were some of like the most important things I actually also learned from it. And I think also another thing too was also to never take for granted the life that we live.
Facts.
Probably baby, you want to make tea now, just go downstairs,
Easy.
get honey,
I
get
saw you
everything.
trying to start fire. like
fire.
You were busting a gasket.
Like when you think about it, because usually you just pull a lighter, but these guys, they have to do this every single time. So it's like, and you want to get honey, they have to go into
saw
the
that,
jungle
man.
and go and look for honey.
Cut the tree open, raw honey.
honey.
But the look on your face, the way you, when you tasted the honey.
That honey was different. I've never tasted any honey like that in my life. Like all those honey we are eating in whatever is just. This one was like pure. Like
This
the
was
bees were in
authentic.
itself. I was like, ah. So yeah, that was actually
What's
really.
your favorite trips? What would you say are your top 3 favorite trips and experiences, and why?
My top 3 favorite trips. I would say one of the trips I love the most that keeps coming to my mind is my first trip to Namibia. And before then, like not a lot of videos have been shown on Namibia, or if they've been shown, the few ones are mostly by Westerners, like people who came. So I was like, okay, Namibia, it should be amazing to visit this place. And I went there, and it was just it's such an interesting country because most people don't think about it. Most people think about South Africa.
Yep.
But they don't think about Namibia. But
Yep.
Namibia is amazing. Like, if I want to recommend anywhere, like anybody should go in Africa, definitely try out Namibia. I feel like Namibia is like, it's so untouched. I think that's the word I'll use for it. It's so untouched. Like, and it's a country almost the size of Nigeria, but just has 2.3 million or 2.5 million people living in it.
Wow.
Imagine a country the size of almost the size of Nigeria.
Wow.
So you can drive from one part of it, and then let's say you're driving for like 6 hours. When I was driving there were periods where we would drive for like an hour, I won't see a single car on the road.
Wow.
So but it's like you're somewhere else, it's like you're on another planet, literally. So Namibia definitely number one. I think I also like my trip to Morocco too. Morocco too, they have this very interesting culture there. It looks very like, how will I explain it? Morocco looks amazing for the camera.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen Olamide's song.
Yeah.
So like it's just, that place is just amazing.
Yeah.
And I think another trip that I would also say I also enjoyed too was also my trip to New York
Wow.
for the first time, because one of the places that I used to watch growing up were like YouTubers in New York and then making videos. So the first time I was there, it was like I've been there before.
Because you had seen so many of this.
So many of the videos. So
That
yeah.
type of first trip to New York and USA, knowing how difficult it is to get a visa out of Nigeria, what was that like for you, man?
This visa wahala, should we go into
I
it?
swear, man. Because you're starting basically from the scratch.
From the scratch,
in Nigeria with
yeah.
nothing.
With
What
nothing.
was it like proving to these embassies that I'm just going to do my work?
Man, I think I would say one of the reasons, because I'll tell you how I got that visa to get to New York. But one of the reasons I got it was because of YouTube and because of where I was at on YouTube. So before then, most places that I was going to in Africa, I had to start with like the easiest ones, like Ghana,
next
like
door.
Kenya, all those
Ivory
ones.
Coast, those close-up ones.
Yeah, then build, and eventually got the chance to get like a South African visa, because those ones, they're always...
That's America.
Yeah, that's America in Africa. They're always for me bad guys. So after that one, I think I was able to now eventually get a Schengen visa. That was my first trip out of... It was actually YouTube invited me to come to... they actually invited me to come to Egypt. But I couldn't get an Egypt visa. So eventually the Schengen visa came, and then I had to fly. If you have a Schengen visa, you can go to Egypt. Wow. So I had to fly. I had to first go to Italy, then go to Egypt.
Then come back. God
Just to get into Egypt. So that happened. But I think building up that profile, building all of that, I now got to this stage where in last year, it was the first time I actually got, that was when I applied for a US visa. And then the lady was like, okay, so what do you do? Blah, blah, okay. What do you do? You say, okay, you're a YouTuber. Okay, what's your YouTube channel? Just type it.
Right there in front of you.
Right there. She now looked at my videos. She now asked me a question for one of my videos, like, oh, I did a video where it's like, how much does $100 get you in Lagos? She now looked at it. She's like, how much does $100 really get you in Lagos? I was like, $100 can get you a lot, depending on how you spend it. Right there and then, she was like, okay, cool. She was like, okay, bring your passport. And that's how I got the visa.
Damn.
But before then...
That's the fastest one.
But before then, because at this point I was at like over 500,000 subscribers on YouTube, so she probably saw it and she was seeing the views and she's like, okay, this one is not running away,
this one's authentic.
because like most of my content is like Africa, so it's like I'm not going to leave wherever and just go and sit down in America, because I understand the reason why they're doing like that. But before then, I've had so many denials of this. South Africa has denied me many times. What's the other one again? Dubai. You know, there was this time Dubai was denying
Yeah,
Nigerians.
Nigerians.
They denied me like 3-4 times. I've been there before. So they've denied me too. South Africa, I've been there before, they denied me too. And then some other countries too. They just like deny. So that was a big problem, especially when you're traveling with a Nigerian passport. You know that the truth is that our passport is not strong. So most places you have to either bring, they'll tell you to go and bring your mom, your grandma's birth certificate before before they give you the visa.
Someone like you now, one of the benefits that is obvious is, of course, with your vision, your storytelling ability, how you can project Nigeria's image and Africa's image positively around the world. But another benefit is based on your own individual experiences traveling around Africa, trying to secure access to other countries that we require access to.
Yeah.
When they call you to the table and someone asks you a question about what are your thoughts of how we can improve traveling within Africa and also access for Africans within Africa, what are some of the things that you've seen that you can bring to the table that hopefully somebody somewhere would listen to?
I think there are lots of things that people can do. I think first of all, one of the reasons from what I've heard that a lot of the in terms of the countries, like why flying across Africa is super expensive. It's probably one of the most expensive places to fly across.
Yeah.
And I feel from what I researched and I heard, it was like, okay, most African countries have heavy taxes that they put every time a plane lands. So if a plane is flying from Nigeria to Ghana, there's a tax on that plane. So those taxes are basically what makes the
ticket
trip
prices go up.
very expensive. So I think that's one of the major ones. Another one too is also ease of access. There's really no reason why I should be an African and it should be so difficult for me to travel across Africa. Like, we're all on the same continent. Why is it difficult? Ordinarily, just in Europe, Schengen area, can travel like you don't even know you've even got into the next country. But all these borders we put. And the funny thing is, the truth about this is that it actually goes all the way back to colonialism and how Africa was divided. If you look at the map of Africa, the way Africa was divided, most English-speaking countries, there's usually a French-speaking country in between them. So if you really, like these Europeans, they are very strategic at what they do. So when they were dividing Africa, the way they divided it's like when they were sharing it, they're like, okay, this here, take this one. Britain, take this one. This one, take this one. We'll put this one in the middle, because that way, if you go back to if you go back to the Bible, literally, it's like one of the ways that you can divide people is when they all speak different languages. So if you go back to that is one of the ways, like when they were dividing it when you look at the map of Africa, many countries that are beside each other. So for example, look at Nigeria. The next country beside us is what?
Ivory Coast, Cameroon, Ghana.
Benin.
French.
Then when you move again, you now get to Ghana. Beside Ghana, then there's Ivory Coast, Cote d'Ivoire. Then beside that one they just
English,
bits
French,
and pieces.
English, French.
So that way it's harder for people to come. So I think this thing is like it's a long-standing thing that has been from colonialism. And then it's like they created a structure for us, and then we followed it, and we are still
without
doing it
anything different
up till today. So the problem is deep.
Wow.
And then also when it comes to Africa, our major problem is leadership. Many African leaders are not willing to put the interest of the country forward. Because if they were willing to do that, imagine the same way that we have trains in London, where there's a train going from London to Manchester, to Amsterdam, to all those places, to Paris.
Yeah.
Like, imagine the amount of trade that we could do in Africa if everything was linked together.
Lagos to Ghana.
Just imagine.
Cameroon.
Togo. Business would just be flowing. There will be so much wealth and so much whatever. And, somebody can make something in Nigeria, shipping it down to Ghana without any problem.
Stress.
But we've just put all these imaginary colonial walls that were built, we put them between us, and it has kind of like led to Africa to be where it is today and be stagnant. So the problem is deeper than just travel.
Absolutely.
It's deeper.
But it opens you up to see some of
Exactly.
those wider problems. And,
Exactly.
and that's why I wanted to ask you. Now, in addition to your own experiences with trips and culture, showcasing the city, your experiences, I said I traveled to Toronto through your eyes, basically, by watching your Toronto video, because I haven't been there before. But that video was kind of like very informative for me. you also added a different element where you spend maybe 24 hours with a celebrity, one that blew up around the world. Is OBO, one of the biggest stars from Africa around the world. How did that, and it came at a time when David had been missing from the culture for a long time. So this was basically him returning back to full-time work, and boom, one of the videos we saw that went crazy was you hanging with him. Talk to me about that. How did that happen? And beyond what we saw on camera, what was your experience like being with him?
Okay, so let me answer the first one. How did that idea come about? Like I said earlier, when I started, I was like, I see myself as a storyteller. So I feel like I believe I can tell a story about anything, as long as I find it interesting, and I know that it's going to be impactful to the viewers who are watching, whether it's going to inspire them, educate them, or entertain them. So for me, I had that idea. I think I was in France, I was in Europe then, and I just knew he dropped his album like I think two weeks before, and I was like, it would be interesting if I could actually do a day in the life of Davido, because I'm like, okay, nobody has seen that side of him, and if I could get that access, I'm sure I can tell a really good story and capture that experience. So I was like, okay. So I reached out to Dami Twitch, who is my friend, and he films most of like Davido's video, and then he put me in touch with Asa, and then we started that discussion, and they were like, oh, okay, cool, okay. They're going to Botswana in like 6 days. If I wanted to come on that trip, and that was how that happened. So I now basically just went. That was my first time. The first time you saw me with like meeting Davido in that was the first time I ever met him.
Wow.
Ever. And then he was like, oh, and then I just met him and it was like, Tayo Aina, how far now? It was like, and then from there, it was just very welcoming. And then from there, he just started telling me that, okay, I watched your video, this. And he was not just saying it, he was telling me what happened in my video. He was like, I watched your Namibia video. When you climbed that place, I was like, wow. So I was like, so it was very, very welcoming. And then we had that whole experience. We traveled together. I just captured like the whole experience. And everything that was happening, it was not like, everything that was happening was authentic.
Was spontaneous.
And spontaneous.
There was nothing created.
Just basically capturing and just also seeing, going behind the scenes and seeing what makes this person tick. And then I just realized so many things. First of all, his team, like the team around him, the way everybody's just making sure that, everything goes as they're meant to be. Him personally is like, I would say, like after that experience with Davido, I would say he's one of a kind. Because when you think about people who are like celebrities, it doesn't act like he's a celebrity sometimes. He just acts like he's your normal guy. He's just like, Alpha, Tayo, you don't come that place. I'm like, I just met, like, we just literally met, and it's like, it's like, there was even something that even happened. I think there was a time when we were going somewhere, but there was a bus. They have these buses that take them out, but there was not enough space in that bus. And I think normally I was just like, okay, I'll just get an Uber and meet up with you guys eventually at the hotel. But then it was like, enter, space. Oh yeah, everybody shift. Oh yeah, sit down for you. Like simple stuff like that. And I'm just like, why? Like they don't make people like people like this. They are not plenty. Because if you look at it, there are many people that I can say like, okay, maybe they are my normal friends that just have a certain level of money. It's not like they have plenty money. They would not like that. They would not do that.
1,000%.
They would not do that.
1,000%.
So it made me feel so welcoming. It was just like, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just a. I think. I don't even know the word to use, but it's just different.
He's a different guy.
That's the word to use.
He's a different guy, and anybody that's experienced him close, usually have this type of experiences where it's almost like you're seeing a celebrity, but you're also seeing a normal human being.
Like,
and it's rare at that level to also have that level of normalcy. That's what's shocking. Now, Afrobeats is huge. The pop culture is massive. What ways do you see any type of more collaborative efforts from the pop music side and what you're doing to kind of take us even further?
Yeah, I think my plan with that series was to start something. Because obviously, like Afrobeats, in terms of like I would say that's one of the biggest exports of
Facts.
of Africa. So like seeing that movement, and I'm like, okay, this is very important, and this needs to be documented and captured. Because one of our problems that I see, especially we don't document stuff. We don't document stuff, even going back all the way to like history and all of that. We don't document a lot of things, so we don't even know our stories. We don't even know who we are sometimes. But if you look at all these Europeans, like there's documents for everything. And I know there's the story of like, okay, like some of the documents that we had then, they were the ones that destroyed that too, because basically
it's part of control.
Part of control. If people don't know their identity, you can easily control them. But I feel like us personally, like we can't keep putting blame on that. We need to constantly keep documenting. So it's like Afrobeats it has become so big now. But where are the stories? Where are all those, behind the scenes of how, like it started? Like who is capturing all these things that is happening now? Because it's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger. So for me, I started that. I did one with Davido, did one with Adekunle Gold. Yeah. And eventually in the future, I also plan on doing more as my platform also gets bigger. Yeah. So eventually we'll definitely get something more in the future, because I believe like it's very important to capture that, because it's part of Africa's story too.
Absolutely. Bullet point questions with simple answers, just to advise. What are the best things for any YouTuber to do to grow followership and interest? What would you advise?
I think my best advice that I always give people is to just fall in love with making videos. Once you fall in love with making videos, everything else falls in place. Because for me, it wasn't like okay, it was falling in love with making content. So every time that ultimately became like, okay, every day try to be consistent. Like you don't need to tell somebody who is in love with something to be consistent. They will just be consistent normally. It's like you won't tell somebody. It's just like when you were younger, if you love football, they'll be like, don't go and play football outside. They will beat you. They will still go. So whatever hurdles, whatever difficulties you face along the way, once you love actually doing something, it's much easier. You spend a lot of time, watching videos. Because back then I used to watch like 10 to 20 videos on YouTube every day, just on how to film, how to edit, how to tell stories, all of that.
Information, education.
All of that. So fall in love with making videos and try to research as much as possible and just keep learning. It's a learning process. Even up to today, I'm still learning. I'm still watching YouTube up to today to learn something new.
And what's next for you? What should we be looking forward to?
What's next for me? I have an amazing documentary that I shot. It's called Japa. And it captures the story of, like Africans who left Africa. Africans are mostly Nigerians who left Africa to the UK. Wow. So that's the first episode. So we basically came here, documented stories, and basically documented that journey of people, because that's such a big thing that is happening now.
Huge.
So I'm just basically telling the stories, the good, the bad, and the ugly behind eventually leaving everything behind and coming to a new land. To start afresh all over again. So that's coming out in the next few days. So
listen, man, your work is very impactful, extremely entertaining, extremely educational, informative, and it's a pleasure to meet you, to hear from the man behind this incredible piece of work. And with the Japa series, we're going to be looking forward to that and really just pushing that forward. And more importantly, we're going to keep supporting what you're doing, because it's fantastic, man. It not only makes us look good, but it also just entertains us the right way. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for my brother, Tayo Aina.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, bro. Really appreciate it, man. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And peace. We're out.
The Afrobeats Podcast.
Right. Right.